Welcome to Water into Wine, a podcast with Father Charleston Wilson, rector at Church of the Redeemer in Sarasota, Florida. I'm Grier Ferguson, the communications director at the church. Father Charleston is a priest, husband, father of two, Anglophile, sock enthusiast, Motown fanatic, and proud native of Linden, Alabama. Oh, and a wine connoisseur. We're sitting down to chat with him about how to invite more grace into your life, how to develop a deeper relationship with God, and how to enjoy a great glass of wine. We're meeting at the intersection of music, faith, wine, and a good helping of modern cultural references. Put it all together, and we're telling the story of God's love and bringing it to life in a fresh way. Join us right here for casual conversations with your spiritual sommelier. Today we're talking about the spirituality of wine. And what better way to start off the conversation than by opening up a bottle of wine right now? What are we drinking today, Father Charleston?
We are drinking today a German Riesling. Now, don't go back to 1984 and think we're drinking like hummingbird food. This is not your grandmother's Riesling. This is not some sweet, sappy deal. This is a dry Riesling that is Vining's Riesling from 2020. I actually know the importer. It's a bright, beautiful, racy acidity. It's electric, like the Electric Slide. You remember that song in the 90s? And this is food friendly. And it's a value grab. If you pay more than $18 for this bottle of wine, you've grossly overpaid.
And why this wine in particular for today's episode?
Well, because when I think of wine, I want a mighty fine wine. And that, of course, is Three Dog Night, 1970. Remember Jeremiah, the bullfrog? He always had some mighty fine wine. And I don't want to drink at this point in my life wine that is not fine. Do you? Do you want bad wine in your life? We're actually going to talk a lot about water into wine, the whole idea of transformation and how God's grace is transformative. From this day forward, I vow to thee, my country, that I will only drink fine wine. And that does not mean it has to be expensive, but I want fine wine. Piece of trivia, if you're up for it.
Yes.
Hoyt Axton in Three Dog Night, the lyricist, he originally wanted to say something other than Jeremiah was a bullfrog, and he just hummed that, and it stuck.
What did he want to say?
He wanted to say Jeremiah the prophet.
Oh.
And it doesn't sound as fun, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So that's why we have Jeremiah the bullfrog.
Okay, bullfrog is better. So should we try it? Should we give it a taste?
Let's give it a go.
What should I be doing when I'm tasting?
So the first thing I'm going to always do when I taste a wine is I want to look at it. This is easy to miss.
I took a sip. I jumped the gun. Okay.
You can't fail. The first thing I want to do is look at it. I'm just saying, is it cloudy or is it pure?
Okay.
This is fine. The color is fine. Then I'm going to smell it. Why am I going to smell it? Because I can taste about 34 things if I'm really good. Even if I'm bad, however, I can smell about 4,000. So that's, of course, why when you have a cold, of course, nothing tastes right. So I'm going to smell it.
Okay.
And I already get fruits like apricot and lemon, bright acidic fruit, and I've not even tasted it. And now I'm going to taste it.
Okay.
And I'm tasting.
Am I tasting?
Give it a go. Now that gross sound that I just made is actually the way you have to taste to really get the guts of the wine to go across your whole tongue. And I'm pulling that liquid across my tongue almost like I had a straw. And that's what makes it come alive. Makes it come alive.
I'm not going to make that sound.
You don't have to.
Okay.
It's not required. And my kids hate when I do, especially in a restaurant, which encourages me to do it. And I do it about 10 times more than I otherwise would.
It is good. I like it.
And this wine, when you're thinking about wine, you've got to think about food. I know a lot of Americans think wine and just think about sitting around and getting inebriated. That's not the point. The point is, what's it pair with? And this is food friendly. Anytime you get acidity or effervescence, like in champagne and sparkling wines, you've got a food friendly wine. And this, I'm thinking about what I ate this week. Last night we had sushi. This would be great with sushi. The night before we had a curry. This would be great with curry. The night before we had a roast chicken out of an Italian cookbook from a restaurant in London I love, the River Cafe. And this would have gone with all of it. And it's a contrasting pairing. Basically, when you're pairing with food, you can either have a complementary pairing or a contrast. And the acidity serves as the contrast to the flavor so that the food doesn't overwhelm the wine, which happens in 9 out of 10 places, really, in restaurants where I go or homes.
Yeah.
They're just fighting. They're in a death match.
Yeah.
Well, and we want both to stand out. And they can either complement to stand out or contrast. And I've been in a contrast mood. Next month, maybe it'd be a complementary mood.
Do you plan out ahead of each meal what you will be drinking with that meal?
I do. And I probably spend more time on the pairing than on what I'm going to really.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
I've been known, if we're going to a restaurant, to study the wine list for days before.
It's a big decision.
And then I'm always disappointed because invariably the one I pick, it's a running joke in the family. Oh, we haven't updated the list and we don't have that today.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like what we're drinking today is pretty versatile, would work with a lot of different
Goes
meals.
with everything. That's why I picked it.
Yeah. It's very, very good. Thank you for choosing it. So let's go back to the spirituality of wine. Talk more about that. What does that mean? First of all, what is the spirituality of wine?
Well, let's go to the title of this podcast, Water into Wine. Okay, that's a metaphor for grace. God is in the business of transforming our lives. That probably means we need to get a working definition of grace on the table for this series, for this podcast. And I'm going to say my definition of grace. I think it's consistent with the through line of the Bible. It's my definition. And you're welcome to have your own, but I think it's faithful to the teaching of the scriptures and to the church. And I would say grace is the limitless love of God, given freely to unworthy sinners for life and salvation. Now, back to the title, Water into Wine. That is taking something that is so basic, and I would even say lifeless. I don't like water. I prefer wine over water, in fact. And it gives it a total new attitude. I've got a new attitude. That was Patti LaBelle. That's what grace does in our lives. It takes something that's ordinary or dull or even broken and nasty and full of bacteria, and it transforms it. What are some synonyms? It's a revolution. Grace is that Copernican revolution in your life, or a sea change, or a total remodel, because that's what God is about. Transformation, death into life, despair into hope, darkness into light. I'm rambling. You get the idea. And that's what we're going to be talking about throughout this series. That's what we mean by water into wine. God's transformative grace for you and for me. Getting in touch with that, because we're also going to be really honest in this series. We're not going to dance around the lighter stuff. We're going to get under the hood and take a real look at what's going on, because I have a theory based on the people that sit on my couch in my office, whom I really get to know, and the guy that I shave with in the mirror. Most people are actually a lot more miserable than they admit. There's this huge pressure, like a pressure cooker, to pretend that your serotonin levels are on fire all the time. And it's just not true. I think it was Henry David Thoreau in, what was it, Walden Pond? Where he says, or Walden, yeah. I don't know why I'm saying pond, but it's Walden.
Well, there was a pond, I think.
It has to be. Sure, it needed to be. If not, it should be. Walden Pond. What's he say? Most men lead quiet lives of desperation. Now, he doesn't mean just men. He means everybody. And we find that experientially true. At least I do, if we're being vulnerable. That's sort of an N word. Right now, and it's almost become a cliche. But on this podcast, we really want to be a bit vulnerable so that we can get in touch with the true living God in Jesus Christ. And, or Trevor Huddleston has just popped in my head, wonderful expat priest to South Africa. And he said, he's responsible actually for Desmond Tutu becoming a priest. He Let me just go on a little tangent here, and I'll warn you, dear listeners, that I do these. So you're going in my head now. God bless you. But this is just how I think.
I think I'll have some more wine.
You should. He was a priest from the UK in South Africa, and this was, of course, during apartheid. And Desmond Tutu's mother worked as a cook and a maid in a local hospital. And Father Huddleston parked his car or his bicycle behind the hospital and walked through the kitchen. And no matter who he saw, no matter their race, rank, or class, he always tipped the hat and said, "Good day, ma'am," or "Good day, sir." That was a radical act in South Africa at the time. And a young Desmond Tutu one day asked, "Who is that man?" And his mother said, "That's Father Trevor." And Desmond said, "That's who I'm going to be when I grow up." And so, the rest is history, as they say. Anyway, Trevor said, back to Thoreau and experiential suffering and pain that we all know too well, and misery. He said, "Everyone sits silently by a pool of tears." And I had a parishioner in my office this week, and we had a wonderful talk, but she's facing some really terrible medical things. And I told her, it probably was not my most pastoral moment, but I said, "May I just say that if it was not medical, you would have an estranged child, or your husband would be a serial philanderer. It's going to be something. What is that insuperable thing in your life?" And we're going to, throughout the series, show how God's grace transforms it and casts it in a new light that is so freeing and life-giving that it's hard to even put words to it.
But I'll bet you can.
We'll try.
So when most people think of water into wine, I think they think about the Bible and the stories they've heard, maybe growing up or throughout their lives. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, of course, the whole inspiration comes from our Lord's first miracle, his first recorded miracle. We assume there were many miracles before. But his first recorded miracle at the wedding in Cana, of course, turning water into wine, the very best wine they'd ever tasted. That's the inspiration for the title. The bookend to that water into wine, taking something dull and making it beautiful. The bookend to that is taking on Good Friday, death, and bringing Easter. He transforms that which is lifeless and gives eternity through resurrection, Good Friday to Easter. I guess you can't have more than two bookends, but the third point, as it were, is he does the same with you and me over and over. That same cycle is imprinted on our lives. And that's what we want to get in touch with in this podcast. Those moments, we might even call them grace moments, where the divine love of God breaks through in a powerful way.
So since it's our first episode, I think we should rewind a little bit and talk some more about who you are, who Father Charleston Wilson is. Can you tell us a little bit more about, we know you grew up in Linden. Tell us about what that was like.
Okay, so this is the getting to know you, getting to know all about you. Is that what this is?
That's what this is, yeah.
Okay, well...
we'll just do it once.
Okay.
We don't want to know that much
So this is
about
the biography,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to do that. I am Father Charleston Wilson on most days, last I checked.
Can I see some ID?
I don't have it, ma'am. I am originally, as you said, from Linden, Alabama. And, it's not exactly the epicenter of wine or religion for that matter. But that's where I'm from. It was a town of 1,800 when I got there. It's a town of 1,200 now. 2 traffic signals. I grew up 9 miles from the nearest traffic signal on a tree farm. And my first introduction to wine, I had a godmother who loved wine. And I was a young boy, and she used to throw these huge parties that my parents would attend. And I noticed that the people, after they had several glasses of it, laughed more. And they seemed to relax. And this was in the days when everybody smoked. So they took smoke breaks between courses. These were seated dinners. They were wonderful. And when they would take a smoke break, I would go over and smell their wine glass.
What made you do that?
I just want to know what it smelled like. And maybe I did take a sip of it too. And I did. And I noticed instantly that the wines all had, as we kept going back, I noticed that the wines had different smells and tastes, and smelled and taste different based on what food I had just had. So I was instantly infatuated. And she gave me a book when I was probably in like 5th grade on wine. I read it cover to cover. What a weird kid. But, this was before Google and Nintendo. And we had 2 TV channels, so it wasn't like it is today. Religion, we went to church, and my parents were religious, but it felt more like we were just checking a box, frankly, to really impress my grandfather, because he was truly a man of God. If the church doors were open, he was there. And if he wasn't there, he was out serving God's people. He loved God and loved people. But it was later that I first sensed God could be more than just a thing that sort of exists out there. And that's later. That was, my professional life. I had actually decided to move to France, and I'd come home. I'd been living in France on and off about 2 years, working in the wine business. I'd become a sommelier, and I was working in Bordeaux with an American lady and her French husband that sent wine to the U.S. from Bordeaux. It was a tough time. It was during the Second Iraqi War, when French wines were really out of fashion for a moment. Do you remember that?
Not really, no.
Well, it was a big to do. And they heard me one day, Deborah and Luke heard me in a restaurant and heard my accent. They say I have one. And
I think they're right.
They came rushing over and told me, we need you to sell wine in the Southeast for us. They'll buy it from one of their own.
The Southeast U.S.
Yes. Okay. And so I did. But I loved it. I decided I loved it so much I was going to come back to the U.S. and literally move forever, expatriate. And I met a girl on a blind date. And she's my wife now. And she loves God and loves people. And she said, one day after we dated a while and I'd abandoned the idea of moving to France because I wanted to be with her for the rest of my life. And she said, I need to be very honest with you. And I said, yes, I think that's a good idea, because I think we're getting to that point where maybe popping a question here soon. Honesty is a good policy. And she said, I could never marry a man who's not serious about his Christian faith. And so I was indignant and tried to be really fake it off and act like I was this towering model of faith and virtue, which I was not. And I'm nervous of people who think they are.
Were you going to church regularly?
I was a CEO, Christmas, Easter, and one other. And I told her that day, I said, well, I'll go to church right now with you. And we did. It was a Sunday morning. And it was a conversion. I didn't know what happened at the time, but I look back on it now. And what did Wesley say when he heard the letter of Romans being read in London? He felt his heart strangely warmed. Those were his words. And that's what I felt, my heart strangely warmed. And the words that I heard in the prayer book, that it just set the gospel of grace so clearly, and that God not only loved me, but he could forgive me. And that over time built, and it was like a faucet I couldn't turn off. And so, to make a short story long, I went to seminary, and only thing I told God after that is we will go anywhere but Florida. We've been in Florida 13 years, and the rest is history, as they say.
So, obviously, as a priest, you give sermons, you lead classes, you write a monthly column for the newsletter, you write dozens of devotionals for our neighborhood groups. So why start a podcast? What's different about this platform?
I have a deep, deep passion, and I don't want to sound like a holy roller or a snake handler here. Although I knew some in Linden. And in fact, I remember this one woman when I was a teenager and had misbehaved, and she'd heard about it because everybody knows everybody's business in a small town. And I remember she came up to me and wagged her finger at me and she said, "Nothing says repent like a rattlesnake." And it did scare me. But I'm not a holy roller when I say this. I have a deep, burning passion that everyone come to know, love, and trust Jesus Christ in a very personal way. And that's so out of fashion, really. But that's Depeche Mode, wasn't it? Your own personal Jesus.
Mm.
I don't mean your own construct of Jesus, but the living God that is presented to us in the scriptures and down through the apostolic teaching of the church. I have a true passion that people come to know Jesus. And that's why we're doing a podcast, because this forum allows us to do so in a relaxed way, and people can sort of take it at their own pace. Whatever it takes. I believe it's Churchill. Victory, victory, victory at all costs. So whatever it takes for you and for me to introduce Jesus to someone is what we'll do. Hence, water into wine.
And now it's time for a listener question. And since it's our first episode and we don't have any listeners yet, except for me, I've taken the liberty of writing a question myself. So are you ready? You ready for it?
I'm braced.
Okay. You might want to take another sip of wine.
I'll do so right now. Oh, the apricot's really coming through.
All right, I'll have to take another sip too.
And smell it. Give it a swirl.
I keep forgetting the swirl. I go right for the sip.
And put your nose just right down in there.
It is good.
Imagine that with a roast chicken. Or even if you're in a hurry, go to Publix and get a rotisserie chicken.
Yeah.
And have that with a simple salad. That's excellent. That's all you need.
Do you have
a baguette?
Favorite variety of Publix rotisserie chickens? You know, they have the different...
Yes, the plain. I have to be honest.
All right.
But I like the Costco chicken better than the Publix chicken.
All right.
And the chicken that I really like is a recipe by Ruthie Rogers. And you can Google it. And it's her chicken with nutmeg.
Oh, that sounds good.
And you make it at home. It's phenomenal.
Oh. And that would pair well with this.
Beautifully.
Very nice. Okay. I think we've stalled enough. I think I'm going to give you the question now.
Okay. I tried.
All right. So you've talked about, your interest in wine, how that started out at an early age, how you worked in the world of wine and restaurants before becoming a priest. So do you ever wish you stayed where you were and kind of continued along that path instead of becoming a priest?
Oh, I never look back. Never surrender. That's a lie. I am filled with self-doubt and imposter syndrome and question my motives over and over. And I told you we'd be honest in this podcast. And I guarantee you, dear listener, you've just resonated with what I said. So yeah, I do think about that all the time. Simultaneously, I am satisfied is not the right word when we talk about these things, but I do think God has me where he wants me. And so I'm supremely glad that I was led along this path. But I think finally I also would say, I kind of embrace now, I used to be embarrassed of this, but now I just own it. I think the goal, if God grants me long life, and that's up to him, he gave me life and he can take it. And as Job says, blessed be the name of the Lord. But if he does give me long life, I would love to be 90 years old and look in the mirror and ask genuinely, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think we all need to just embrace that a little bit more and try to, I think we need to do the sidestep from the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plan. I think we need to shred that and sort of go with God. Yeah,
the old we plan, God laughs.
Is saying. That not so true?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I do look back and wonder, did I do the right thing? When I was elected rector, I didn't sit in the rector's office for 2 months because I just felt like
you stayed in your old office.
I did.
What made you finally go sit in your actual office?
You know what helped? Father Fred, whom I love, and I still work with him. I worked for him before I was a rector.
He was our previous rector.
Yes,
previous
a beloved 26-year rector.
Position.
Which is a hard act to follow, frankly. And when I got rid of his chair.
You got your own chair.
I got my own chair. And when I got my own chair, I said, okay, maybe I can start sitting in here a little bit because I could not go in there without seeing him in my mind's eye in that chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, he's Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to sit in Captain Kirk's chair. I'm Scotty, or somebody else. Sulu. But I can't be Captain Kirk. But I was elected Captain Kirk. And God puts us in these situations, and we need to lean into him and less in ourselves. And I think we own that by really admitting that constant self-doubt and imposter syndrome that infects us all.
So there's a bonus question. Do you want the bonus question?
I feel like I don't have an option.
That's correct. You do not. So when priests are on duty, they mostly either wear clericals or vestments. So some of them have been known to use socks as a form of personal expression, some perhaps including you. And you're often seen up there at the altar with some pretty flashy socks. Yep, he's got some on now. They're bright teal. So the question is, do you have a favorite pair of socks?
Absolutely, I do. And I love the way you phrase that. You have a great way with words. I could learn a lot from you. And I'm going to start trying to think, what would Grier say in this situation? I like the way you said some priests wear wild socks or something like that as a bit of personal expression. Mine is actually rooted in a slight amount of holy mischief, if I can coin a phrase, because I feel like I look like the postman from the neck down. And it's a little like water and not wine, right? Don't give me water, give me wine.
Yeah.
It's maybe a slight of rebellious nature coming out, just to have something that is not all black. And so that's part of it, but I've always kind of liked funky socks. But you said, do I have a specific sock?
Yeah.
Very specific. Now, you obviously, dear listeners, you can't see, but right now I'm lifting up my pants leg, and this sock is an over-the-calf sock that comes from a very specific company called Turnbull and Asser from German Street in London. And you can go online.
Of course it does.
And get your loved one these socks. And these socks are so bright, they're obnoxious. It's like an eclipse.
Stocking stuffer, so to speak.
Indeed. Yeah. And you can do that. But yes, it's over the calf. That's the key. Because otherwise they fall down all day.
Oh, okay.
Over the calf, Turnbull and Asser, 100% wool. And it's a very, very finely woven wool. You didn't know you were getting all this.
I didn't. I meant like a sock with a teddy bear on it or something.
Oh, no. No, if I could give you the ISBN number, yeah. I would.
The material.
Oh, yes. And over the calf, because I know you needed to know that.
Yes, we did. Our listeners did.
Yes.
So it's a service. So, all right. Well, I asked, so.
That's what you get for asking.
I love it. Well, if you have a question for Father Charleston, you can email it to us at staff@redeemersarasota.com. That's staff@redeemersarasota.com. And we might just ask it on the next episode. Thanks so much for joining us for Water into Wine with Father Charleston Wilson. We're looking forward to sharing more grace, more music, and more wine with you again soon. If you liked what you heard, follow the show on your favorite podcast platform. And if there's someone in your life, maybe a friend or a colleague or a family member, who might like to hear this episode, please share it with them. Water into Wine is produced by Church of the Redeemer in Sarasota, Florida. Join us for our services in person or via our live stream. And learn more at redeemersarasota.org/podcast. That's redeemersarasota.org/podcast.